Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning and question and answer Friday. Always a fun day for me, hopefully for you. And okay, we got a few folks coming on, and as usual, we'll say hi to Nativity and Sue. Good morning. Nice to have you on. Brahim, Portland, Oregon. Mike from Norland. And Chandra. Kevin, good morning. How is you? Nick from our staff. And Elaine. Marin, good morning to you. Jordan, good morning, Jordan. How are you? Luella, Zian. Bonjour. Lexi, Connecticut. Alabama, Patricia. Julie, nice to have you on. Jeanette from our staff. And Deb. And Suzanne. And Donna, good morning. Donna from Park Hill. Nellie. And Micheline, bonjour. Cheryl. Good to have you on. Francine. Bonjour de Nakina. Rita. Josh. And Yolande. Bonjour. Yolande. Jane. Good morning to you. Carol. And you guys are great. Thank you for coming on. Brenda. Campbell River, British Columbia, right? Brenda? Maryland. Edmonton, Joanne, Gloria, another Donna from Medicine Hat, Alberta, Jeanette, Marina from Newfoundland, Giovanna, Palmerston, Ontario. Where's that? Zilliang, another Diane, another Donna, Vera, good morning from Newfoundland. Nicole and Bruno and Carol. Sunny Dominican. Carol's in the Dominican Republic. Susanna and Deb from Timmins. Marianne, Brenda, and Patty. Thanks again, guys, for coming on. Let's get going. Jeanette, bonjour, Regina. Okay. Question and answers. Here we go, guys. Lori, what foods can I eat to combat a sluggish thyroid? Well, I'm going to tell you what you shouldn't eat, okay, for a sluggish thyroid. I see sluggish thyroid all the time. And if you have a sluggish thyroid, your metabolism isn't working properly. Here's foods you avoid. Sugar and crappy carbs. Avoid like the plague. Your metabolism is already slowed down. Those foods will make you worse. Now, Lori, here's something you should take into consideration. The thyroid absolutely needs a couple of things. One of them is selenium, and the other is iodine. Okay? Now, generally, you ain't going to get enough selenium in plants, okay? And I'm not saying don't eat plants, but don't live on plants. You need, for your thyroid to work properly, you need a very high protein diet. You need all the amino acids. And, look, I'll give you an example. If you've been around me long enough, you know I like peanut butter. I can actually show you my jar of natural peanut butter, okay? It says that it has 8 grams of protein in there. Now, folks, I don't eat peanut butter because it's necessarily good for me. I eat it because I like it, okay? And I don't need bread for my peanut butter, okay? When I was a kid, you know what I liked the most? Peanut butter and bananas. That was me, okay? What point am I making? Well, peanut butter's got protein in it, okay? Peanuts have protein. Nuts have protein. But that protein isn't complete. Not near like eggs protein, meat protein, or cheese protein. It's not even close. So when they tell you it's got 8 grams of protein per tablespoon or whatever it is, yeah, okay. But it's not near as good for you and your thyroid as that complete protein. And you need iodine and you need selenium. Guess where that's found in the most? Eggs, meat, and cheese. So that's what you eat, Lori, if you're asking, okay? Because that's the best food for a sluggish thyroid. And the thyroid, remember, is a puppet. The thyroid doesn't act on its own. It really doesn't. It's got a lot of moving strings to it. Liver, the gut, your adrenals, your ovaries in a woman, obviously, estrogen, all of those have a big factor when it comes to thyroid. Now, for those who are listening that know what a category storm is, category 5, or you can take that teaching on our website. Find out. We give you enough information there to figure out what category you're in if your hormones are messed up. And the big thing there is doing the reset as far as food is concerned. Okay? So there you go. Okay? Cecile, 2 questions. What should homocysteine be? I talked about that the other day. I like it under 8. Okay? But you can Google that. I mean, you can ask me or go just put it in Google and ask what number. But I'll tell you what number I like. I like under 8, okay, for your homocysteine, which is another form of looking at inflammation in the body, the homocysteine, okay? And a lot of times, people that have high homocysteine are very low in B12. They correlate with each other a lot. Okay, so that's just what I wanted to talk about. Cecile's second question was about cataracts. What do I do? Well, do the reset. I would have you on Navital and high DHA for your eyeballs. Cataracts, okay? Cataracts, glycation, we've talked about that all this week. Free radical damage. People that suffer the most with cataracts are diabetics. They get glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, blood supply. You have to increase the blood supply. That's why I like Navital. I would put it up against any other supplement when it comes to your eyes. Why? Because it elevates your nitric oxide. It opens up your blood vessels. You get more blood supply. What does DHA do? High DHA is an oil that lubricates. It lubricates those blood vessels. It lubricates the cornea. It lubricates the eyeball. The eyeball needs lubrication. Okay? So, good question. Thank you, Cecile. Diane. What is the cause of low white blood count and can we raise it? Well, sure. I mean, look, there could be a lot of things. Could be autoimmune will lower your white blood count. It could be medications that lower your white blood count. Chemotherapy lowers white blood count. So without knowing all of that, Diane, I don't know what, could be causes of that. What do I recommend? Blood boost. Elevate your white count with blood boost. Okay? That's what I give to patients with low white count, even low red count. Okay? Laurie's asking a good question here about the immunity of people who lived during the time of the Spanish flu. Why did so many die? And I would imagine their diets were healthy back then. Well, they're certainly healthier than they are today. But you're asking a good question, Laurie. I'm glad you're thinking about that. Why did so many people die? Well, one thing, Laurie, that we all agree on, I think we do, is that modern medicine when it comes to acute care, the problem with modern medicine is they wait till you get sick. They don't talk about the immune system. But if you do, look, if you have a heart attack and you drop, you don't want me. Okay? Now, I learned CPR. Okay? But you don't want me. You want an emergency doctor. You want my son-in-law. 1-800-SAM, I call him. He's the best. You want to keep you alive? You've been in a car accident? Modern medicine. They give you fluids. They give you electrolytes. They give you blood. You go in with a major infection, even during COVID, right? You go in with a major infection. Well, modern medicine is wonderful. Antibiotics. I'm not against antibiotics. Not even one bit. Now remember, during the Spanish flu, people, you get the virus, but they died from what we call a cytokine storm. And there were no respirators, there were no, so I'm glad you asked the question, Laurie, because the immune system is what I talk about. I don't even want you to get a bug. You can't avoid all bugs. But I want you to be able to fight it. But if you need to go to the hospital, then that's what hospitals are for. So, yeah, modern medicine has done wonderful things. Like you look at prednisone, for example. The discovery of prednisone can save your life. You go in and your lungs are so inflamed that you can't even breathe, and they give you prednisone, save your life. Sometimes I rail against medicine, but it's because the reason I rail against it is not of all the great discoveries they've made. It's because they wait till people get sick. They don't even look at food. And so that's where I come from, Laurie, but I appreciate that question very much. Cheryl, I get that the sun gives us vitamin D, yep, Viderma, and that in Canada we get less than the United States. Generally, that's true. But why are the levels of serum vitamin D guidelines lower in the US than Canada? They're not. They just use two different, Americans use a different reading than Canadians do. Canadian medicine is different, but it's only because of the calculation. They're the same. For example, when in the United States, when I say, look, I want your vitamin D levels to be over 60, I don't like under 60. The equivalent of that would be about 150 in Canada. Okay, I don't like under 150 in Canada. 125, I can live with it, but it's not optimized. So they're really not different, Cheryl. They're just two different readings. Okay, it's just two different readings, but they're looking for the same thing. Okay. Shouldn't we all have the same blood levels of vitamin D? Yes, and they should be optimized. okay? Optimize. So depending where you live, if you live in the United States, here's a number I like, 60 or above, okay? If you got cancer, I like it to be near 100. And that would be an equivalent in Canada to around 200 to 250. Okay, I like optimized vitamin D. Elizabeth, I was always wondering about a polyp, how it gets into the bladder. Well, polyps can grow anywhere, right? You can get polyps everywhere. You can get them on your skull. Sebaceous cysts and polyps. You get polyps in your skin. You get polyps all over the place. The idea with a polyp is just make sure it's, like, for example, when people go through a colonoscopy, usually they sedate you pretty good, and the doctor might come out afterwards and say, well, you know what, I saw a polyp and I did a biopsy of it, or other ones, I saw polyps and I got rid of them. Because the doctors there are looking at polyps as possibly being precancerous. But the idea with polyps, why they disappear, I mean, that can happen, but the idea is don't give it anything to grow. Now remember, what makes polyps, tumors, grow? Sugar, estrogen. We talked about that yesterday. It's a growth hormone. Insulin is a growth hormone. Cut that down. Cut those down, and polyps have no fuel to grow. Okay? Very, very good question. Thank you so much. Okay, let me just get back here. That was Elizabeth. And she's saying the specialist wasn't worried about it. Well, if the specialist is not worried about a polyp, don't you be. Okay? They thought it to be very benign. That's what they mean. Okay, Lisa. Chlorine is mentioned in leaky gut as a contributor to leaky gut. What's chlorine, right? Well, they add it to the water in some places now they've taken chlorine out of the water, the city water, right? That was brought to you by the Dental Association because they found out that chlorine protects you from cavities. But I'll tell you what protects you from cavities more than anything else is getting rid of sugar. Sugar destroys your teeth. It demineralizes them, okay? And I'm not big on chlorine. I'm really not. That's why I tell you, if you're drinking city water, please filter it. Get a filter, get a Brita, get whatever else is on the market, inexpensive if you want, and filter that water. Filter it. Get the chlorine out of it. It kills your friendly bacteria. That's why I don't like chlorinated toothpaste. Why are you using that stuff? I'm not against toothpaste. I just don't like chlorinated. Fluoride, I mean. I meant fluoride. Fluoride. That's dental. Okay? Now, chlorine they use, of course, right? As an antiseptic and whatever in the city water and that. Filter it. Filter it. Kills your friendly bacteria. Okay, sorry about that. Would this be in hot tubs and pools? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So make sure you're taking your probiotics if you're getting into a hot tub or swimming in a pool all the time. Because you got bacteria on your skin. And you can understand for a pool, they got to put chlorine in it. Right? Or salt water. But even saltwater pools, usually they're adding some chlorine to it. Good question. Madison, okay, how is it that so-called blue zones of the world operate largely on a plant-based diet? Well, I disagree with that. Okay? Because one of the, what they call the blue zones, okay, and that's all modern talk, okay? Or that many nutritionists that are seeking to rebuild gut microbiome speak to lowering our pH or acidity levels in our bodies through an increase in vegetables instead of animal products. I am interested in the reset diet, but need convincing. Well, Madison, here I am to convince you, okay? Now listen, I'm not against plants. You have to understand that. But when you compare it to the animal kingdom, and I know I'm in the minority, but that minority doesn't mean we're wrong. As I've said, Madison, for a long time, we live in my opinion, a crazy world, upside down world, where animals are looked at as only as pets, okay? And not to eat. Now, where does that come from? Does it come from science? Meat is acidic. Ooh. Madison, that ain't true. Is a tomato acidic? Yeah, it's acidic. Are tomatoes bad for you? No. You know why? Because when you eat a tomato, which is acidic, when it gets into your gut, your body releases sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, to alkalize it. So tomatoes are very alkaline. What? Yeah, they are. Once you digest it. Red meat, acidic. Oh, Dr. Martin. Coffee, acidic, Dr. Martin. It's acidic. And acidic will kill you. Sorry. You're not looking at the end product. Okay? You know, you're not. Acidic food is garbage food. Acidic food is sugar food, or foods that will turn to sugar in nanoseconds. Acidic food are crappy carbohydrate foods. Madison. Now, you want to eat plants, go for it. The reason that I do the reset, and it's a 30-day program of no plants and no fruits, and people think, well, that's crazy, Dr. Martin, but I have a reason for it. I don't want no oxalates. I don't want no fructose. I don't want no lectins. I don't want any gluten. I don't want any of those things for 30 days. I want to let your body reset itself. I want to empty your liver. I want to give your bowel, because I'm a guy that I've said this, and I've said it for so long, that fiber is overrated. That came from the cereal companies. They lied. So when you hear about blue zones, Costa Rica, that's a blue zone. They don't live on plants in Costa Rica. They like plants. The Mediterranean diet was always, Dr. Martin, they don't eat meat. Are you kidding me? In Japan, are you kidding me? Because that's what they call a blue zone. They eat lots of fish and meat. And their big advantage is in the blue zones that when they are healthier, it's because they don't eat the amount of sugar that we eat. In Japan, they don't live on cookies and ice cream and crappy dinner. Madison, that's why they're healthier than us. You know, and our people used to be very healthy. There were studies done in the 1950s. When I was a little boy, a fellow by the name of Stephenson, who was a medical doctor, a researcher, lived with the Eskimos at the time and the Inuit today. And he lived on and observed their eating. They didn't eat any plants. They weren't chewing on broccoli. They lived on blubber. He couldn't get over how healthy they were, how good their teeth were. He couldn't get over how good their blood pressure was. He wrote a book about it. He studied them. He said, I can't get over it. And I had to eat I ate just what they ate. And he said, I never felt better and everything was better. You know what? It's only when we introduce a sugar. And that's why I always tell all my First Nations, okay? You ask all my First Nation patients. I've done hundreds of seminars all over Canada to the First Nations. And what did I tell them? Quit eating the white man's food. Go back and eat the way you used to eat. Live off the land. You were healthy until the white man gave you sugar. We're trying to kill you and take your land. That's what I always used to start. I said, we already took your land. I said, now we want to kill you. It's a slowdown. It's poison. We're giving you the diet. And that's what's happening to any population that gets the North American diet is in deep doo-doo very quickly. So Madison, look, don't be duped. Don't be duped. Understand what I'm saying. Okay? Understand what I'm saying. And, I don't care if you live in a blue zone or not. I've read all about that stuff. And they're mistaken. They're mistaken. Because they're blaming the meat for what sugar is doing. They're blaming eggs like, what's that show that was on Netflix or just about gave me 3 splitting headaches? What the Health, isn't it? I think it came out in 2018 or something like that. People ask me about that every day. What about What the Health? And I said, what the H? I said, that's propaganda, man. Eggs are worse than having 5 cigarettes a day. You have 1 egg, it's 5 cigarettes. I said, what kind of nonsense is that? That's not science. That's the farthest thing from science. I hate that word when they say, let's follow the science. Jeepers, guys. Anyway, you guys know better than that, but I'm trying to convince Madison. Okay? And Madison, can I tell you something? I really appreciate you asking me the question. I always am prepared to defend my theory of food. I want to defend it. I believe I'm 100% right. And and we live in a free country. You can do whatever you think is right. I like that. I hope that continues. But that's where I come from, Madison. And I'm very, very convinced. And remember, I was in clinical practice. I did blood tests before and after. I had to prove I could lower triglycerides and elevate HDL. I had to prove that I could lower CRP, C-reactive protein. I had to prove that I could lower a person's A1C. And I used to tell them, trust me. Look me in the face and trust me. And I'll prove to you that I'm right. And that's why I always tell people, I want you to read the book so you can read the science behind my theory. Okay? Madison, I hope you do it. I hope you do it. Fran, if a woman had their tubes tied for years, can they still get high levels of estrogen? Absolutely they can, because, I mentioned this yesterday, Fran. We live in an estrogen world. You can get it from your body, even if you've had your tubes tied, even if you've had a hysterectomy, because your body has plan B. You're not going to stop being a woman because you had a hysterectomy. Your body has plan B. That's one. So internal estrogen. Then you have external estrogen. Very dangerous. We live in a world, all the chemicals, they're called xenoestrogens. The study that I showed you yesterday was about 300 of them that are commonly found in our environment and in our food and in our water, and you just can't get away from all of it. And that gives you xenoestrogens because your body thinks those chemicals are estrogen. And especially in breast cancer and men in prostate cancer, their bodies say, hey, estrogen, come here, I like you. You're natural, but it isn't natural. And it elevates estrogen. Then you have phytoestrogens. And one of the reasons I wanted people off certain plants is because of phytoestrogens, okay, that you can eat in food. And those are found in the plant kingdom. Okay, and you can get some even xenoestrogens in the animal kingdom if it's, they use pesticides, you know what I'm saying? We live in a world, you can't get away from it completely. You just can't. I wish you could. When we get to heaven, when we all get to heaven, then we don't live in a perfect world. Sorry. Okay, Fran, good question. What are my thoughts on almond oil? I don't like it. No, but there's better oils than almond oil, okay? I mean, if you want to use almond oil, go, but can I tell you to use butter better? Right? Use lard better. Coconut oil is better than olive oil, almond oil, okay? And you can heat it up, but why are you doing that? When there's better things you can use. Olive oil is better than almond oil, okay? Good question. And Pam, I was diagnosed with Gove's, and I think you mean Graves' disease, okay, which is a thyroid condition, autoimmune, hyper, gives you heart fluttering and nervousness, rapid heartbeat, tremors for some people, bulging eyes, thyroid, like a goiter can come out. There's all sorts of things with Graves. What can I do? Well, I would do the reset. Start with that. This is autoimmune. It always starts in the gut, leaky gut. We talked about that yesterday. Get rid of leaky gut. Get rid of candida, fungus. Don't feed the bears. All of that, Pam, you can do. Dr. Martin, Lexi's asking, what do I think of infrared saunas? I like them. I like saunas. Or as my dear Finnish friends would say, saunas. They don't say sauna. They say sauna. Okay? I love them. They're good for you. They detox. They're really good. Infrareds are really good. Studies on them are good. Deborah, what do I think of Buckley's or Cold FX? Look, I mean, you understand that's a medication. Buckley's is an over-the-counter anti-cough, antihistamine. I don't know if Buckley's is an antihistamine, but they say it tastes bad and works. I wouldn't take much of it. Okay? I like oil of oregano better than Buckley's for anything. I like oil of oregano better than Cold FX for anything. It's antiviral, it's antibacterial, it's antifungal, it's anti. And it don't kill your friendly bacteria, okay? So I like oil of oregano better than anything like that. I like probiotics better than any Cold FX because there's certain broad spectrum probiotics like L. reuteri, L. rhamnosus, whatever, is so much better for your immune system. I like vitamin D, better than Cold FX. Any day, anytime. Viderma. It is the best thing for your immune system. Okay? So, you know what? You want to use Cold FX, or you got a bad cold, you want to use some Buckley's for a day or two, go for it. But I'm telling you what I like better. Lynn, causes of low ferritin. Well, can be a pile of things. Is donating a blood a couple of days before blood work, can that cause low ferritin? Well, I wouldn't put you into extremely low. Mind you, okay, and a lot of times people with high ferritin are asked to give blood to lower it, okay, to lower it. So if you gave it a couple of days before, it'll go down a touch. But when you get, the important to understand what high ferritin is. High ferritin is usually due to a sign that you have a fatty liver. And that's why I'm really big on emptying the liver. If you have low ferritin, it often happens with people that are anemic. They don't have enough blood. They don't have enough iron. They miss all that stuff, and they need that. And I like blood boost for that. And I like meat, red meat. Connie, while on the reset, if an individual slips on a meal or a day with a form of sugar intake, cookies, example, how far did this place an individual? Look. Ideally, you do not want to cheat. 30 days, like I always say, it's not easy, but it's simple. No sugar, no sweets, no. But it was your birthday during the reset and you had a little piece of cake or something. Is that the end of the universe? No, it's not. Okay? Get back on track and maybe add an extra day to your regime. Look, I'm a reward guy. Okay? I'm a reward guy. I've always believed in rewards. God is a God of rewards. I love rewards. You've been a good soldier, then you get a reward. Okay? That's why I tell people, like my wife, there's no one that makes better spaghetti. Kids, Christmas, what do you want? Spaghetti. It's Easter, what do you want? Spaghetti. We're getting the family together, what do you want? Spaghetti. They want their mother's spaghetti. My daughters even tell me, Mom hasn't even really, she does something different. Hasn't given us the full recipe. Okay. So when, we have spaghetti, you're not supposed to, don't do it during the reset, but you know what? I live on the meatballs. I don't live on the noodles. I love the meatballs. I love the sausages, and that sauce is to die for. Is that a reward? Big time. But I found over the years, just being disciplined, that I don't need the noodles. Or you can change the noodles, right? And get a lower carb noodle. But I'm a big guy on eating the meat. Okay? I'm a big guy on eating the meat. And the sauce. To die for. To die for. Okay? But you can't. Anyway. So look, if you get sidetracked, failure is not a dead end. It's a detour. Just go around it and start again. Failure is not a dead end. And that's why so many people quit. They tried to quit smoking, and then they have a cigarette and said, what's the use? I might as well smoke again. Or they're on a diet and they blew it. They had some pizza And then, you know what? I quit. You know what? I'm a failure, blah, blah, blah. Don't look at failure like that. Failure is a detour. It's not a dead end. You can start over again. Any day you can start again. Start again. That's why I try and tell people. That's a recipe for success, not for failure. Ooh, if you ever make a mistake, you're done like dinner and but that's the world telling you that. Okay. Good question, Connie. Gail, does my lipid profile in A1C differ if I fast 11 hours before labs are taken if I eat? Well, not A1C for sure, because A1C is an average. It's glycated hemoglobin they're looking at, a 2 to 3 month average. So yeah, whether you fast or not, it's not going to affect that. Jenny, now fasting glucose, of course it does. But magnesium citrate with medium triglyceride, all that means is, okay, it's the delivery system of the supplement. If you ever see MCT oil, and sometimes companies do that, they put it in a lipid. And MCT oil is palm oil. You can even get MCT oil in coconut oil. And it burns ketones. And the delivery is to get it to your liver. That's why they want to do that. Okay, Jenny? Yeah, that's all right. You don't need it. If you're taking, I like magnesium citrate because it's already been chelated. Okay? Brenda, on the reset for a year, my blood pressure is high. Can hypothyroidism affect blood pressure being high? Well, usually it's the opposite. If you got hypothyroidism or a sluggish thyroid, your blood pressure tendency is to be low. But if you have high blood pressure, and again, Brenda, I would have to see your numbers because the parameters for high blood pressure have really changed, and I don't like it. I think it was meant by the pharmaceutical industry to sell more medications. But I'm going to tell you something. If you get your diet right, don't blame salt for what sugar does, because high blood pressure is usually a sign of kidney stress due to insulin resistance. Okay, and could be even what we had talked about earlier this week in the A1C and how that affects as your A1C goes up, your atherosclerosis goes up. Sugar, man, sugar's bad. Sugar is bad. Okay? Get your kidneys tested, because that's what I'd be more interested in, Brenda. Linda, I've never had a nosebleed, but now I have one. What would be an underlying reason? Well, look, there could be a couple of things. Your blood could be thinning out. You could have a very dry home this year. There's a lot of things that can cause, high blood pressure can cause a nosebleed. Just make sure you're not getting anything serious, Linda. Okay, Judy. I don't understand this one, Judy. You need to clarify for me. You can get a hold of us afterwards. For my granddaughter with this derealization, it's spelt wrong. There's something you're trying to ask me, but I don't know what it. For my granddaughter with this derealization, okay? What do you mean by that? So I can't answer your question, Judy, till you clarify what you mean, okay? So please get a hold of us after the program and I'll answer your question. What does Dr. Martin think of hydrogen in the water? Well, there is hydrogen in the water. H2O is water, right? Oh, you mean adding hydrogen to water? Why? I don't believe it, okay? They talk about, I've heard about that before. Adding hydrogen, you're going to have more oxygen. You're going to oxygenated water, and you're going to have, it'll get rid of everything from warts on your nose to you know, scrapes on your toes. Yeah. Drink water. What's the best water? Spring water. Okay, that's the best. If you want to get the alkalinity of the water up, then add a little bit of Himalayan salt. Add some salt. Add a pinch of salt to your water. Okay? And you'll get that pH right up. Nah, I don't think therapeutic. I wouldn't bother with that. Alberta, my friend has brittle nails. She's been unable to wear wedding rings. She breaks out in rash and hives. She is on the second reset. Well, I'm going to tell you something. She's got a thyroid issue and she's got leaky gut. Fix that. Fix that. And that takes time. Some people, that's yeast, fungal, oftentimes on rashes. Okay? Heather, if someone follows the reset long term, would you recommend working out? Of course. Of course. My boyfriend requires carbs in order to have an effective gym workout. Do I believe that? Not even one bit. Now, people that are big, like, I mean, they got muscles coming out their ears, okay? They got big bins. So they can have more carbs than someone else. Does that make it good for them? Nah. Okay? That doesn't make it any better for them. And so, you know, when they tell you they need those carbohydrates to work out, I don't buy it. Okay? I don't buy it. Some people need to, you know, get up with Dr. Martin's Perfect Smoothie and then go work out. You know what they really need to work out? They need protein. They need protein, and they need even more of it. Okay? Okay? Do artificial sweeteners spike insulin? Well, the sweet taste. You see, body's smart, guys. And you know me, I've talked about artificial sweeteners. I don't like them. I'm not big on them. And people insist, like stevia, for example, does it really spike your insulin? Well, you know, the sweet, don't do that to yourself. Always looking for sweets. You know, and you know, you gotta have, I can't drink a coffee if I don't put, you know, stevia in it. Ooh, I don't like it personally. But look, it's probably not the greatest thing, but how much insulin you really do produce, the problem, and I'm talking about aspartame and all those other garbage ones, they destroy your microbiome. That's what we know they do more than anything else, okay? And they give you that sweet taste. I got a study that came out, I'll mention it to you next week because I just read a study on a Danish study, okay? So I have it right in front of me. It's a 6-month Danish study. Interesting. I'll talk about that next week, okay? Does chewing gum insulin response? See, again, you know, like with these artificial sweeteners, be careful with it. Be careful with it. You're going to increase your insulin a little bit. Raija. Dr. Martin said there's no skin condition without a fungal connection. My question, how could it relate to keratosis pilaris? What's the connection? And it's spreading. Well, I'm going to tell you, he's got leaky gut, your grandson. 100%. 100%. How much are you going to be able to reverse? It depends. But you better fix that leaky gut. Broad spectrum probiotics, Candida formula, I believe. Don't feed the bears. Change the diet. Amazing what happens, okay? Extreme fatigue with COVID. Carol, the last question. What would you recommend for supplements? Well, I'm very big on vitamin D. I'm very big on probiotics. I'm very big eating lots of steaks. Because if you've had COVID, you know, your body went through a war. and you want to rebuild it, okay? My protocol, Navital, vitamin D, high doses for about a week. And that really, really helps. Eat your vitamin A, so eat steak. Eat your vitamin K2, steaks and butter and cheese, eggs. Okay? Carol, thank you very much for the questions. Okay? Guys, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And the questions were fun. They were very good. You see, we like answering questions. Don't be shy. And don't be scared to challenge. Challenge me. Challenge your thinking. I want you to think. I want you to think. I don't want to indoctrinate you. I want you to think. Come to the conclusions on your own. I want to present evidence. You guys decide. Okay? Whether I'm right or not. 100% believe I'm right. Okay. We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.